But when people ask overall, what's the one single most important thing that determines how well a city or a region performs? It's a very difficult question, but what I come down to in the end is that it's the very long-term advantage of very good leadership that makes the biggest difference. In other words, city leaders and regional leaders, they have a specific job description. They have things that they must do. They have to manage the things for which they're responsible, the activities of the city or the regional government. Often that includes land use planning, sometimes it includes housing or transport, sometimes it includes education, social services, sometimes it includes waste management. The things vary from one country to another in terms of what's in the competence of the city or regional government. But in addition to being good managers of what the city or the regional government has to do, they also have to be good leaders of the whole place. And that means that they have to, firstly, start to influence others, start to influence the things they don't control, to gradually get them more and more aligned with a long-term agenda for the city or the region. This is a process of bringing together multiple stakeholders. Cities and regions have all sorts of organizations that are part of their governance system. And the question is whether city and regional leadership can provide more coherence to that governance system and how it can do it. So good city and regional leaders tend to have a long-term agenda. They tend to work very closely with public, private, civic, institutional leaders. They tend to form leadership teams of one kind or another. They tend to be very decisive in distilling a vision that everyone can understand and can work with. They tend to be very good at laying out both to national governments and to the private sector what's the benefits of investing in this place, in this city or this region. And they tend to be very good at identifying those things that really need to be reformed and getting on with the business of reform in order to build a very positive track record and reputation as being people who are leading the process of making the place better, more fit for purpose and better able to work. So when we go back and look at what makes a successful city or region, it's often, as it were, the competitive advantage of leadership that appears over the long haul, over the many cycles that a city or a region goes through, that becomes very important. Now that leadership, of course, is often inspired individuals who really understand their city and their region, its history, its DNA, its essence, and know how to become the person who builds an agenda for everyone. But there's also too, I think, very transferable skills in city and regional leadership. It's not just the uniquely inspired individuals, it's also the tools of systematic leadership, of knowing how to bring people together, knowing how to define a vision, knowing how to articulate what will work, knowing how to position a city or a region in relation to national governments and in relation to open and competitive markets. Those skills are things that we haven't learned yet how to teach. And we haven't learned yet how to teach them because we haven't really defined in any great detail what they are. So whilst we know that city leadership and regional leadership provides a long-term competitive advantage, we're really just at the beginning of understanding what the science of that leadership and its competitive advantage is. And for us who are working with cities and regions for the next 10 years, this is our new threshold, this is our challenge, this is the place where we have to be pioneers to build mechanisms and systems that will produce forever better city and regional leadership in just the way that in the last century we learned how to build better national leadership and better corporate leadership. We need to do that in this century, and those who wish to be associated with the long-term success of cities and regions have a clear agenda here, I think, to support. Done. Okay? But